Right, so here we are with another 40k battle report, 2,000 points. It's Death Guard, Mortarion Sons against Adepta Sororitas, Order of the Martyred Lady. We've got the mission, retrieval mission, in fact, the first one, which is 6 objectives. There's 1 in each deployment zone. Have I shown it there? No, there. And 1 under those poxwalkers, and then there's 4 in no man's land, although 2 of them are only just outside our respective deployment zones. Quickly going through the armies. So for Death Guard, my Warlord is a Lord of Virulence. I won't go through all the details on them because we can discuss those if they ever get used in the game. I've also got Malignant Plaguecaster for my HQ. I've got 3 units of Poxwalkers, 2 units of 10, and a unit of 15 just over there. I've got 2 units of 5 Blightlord Terminators. 1 is in reserve, 1 is down there. They've both got flails, both got blight launchers. The champion in this one has got a combi plasma. In the one in reserve, a combi melter. Got a Tallyman, plague surgeon, and something else. Oh, foul blightspawn. He's also in reserve because I've got a unit of 4 death shroud and a foul blightspawn in the Dreadcore drop pod, which is obviously in reserve as well. 2 units of plague burst crawlers, 2 fetid bloat drones. And I think that's my stuff over here. We've got 2 rhinos, 1 over that side, 1 over this side, packed with arcoflagellants. We've got several units of battlesis, I think 4 in total, 2 with like flamers and 2 with melters, is that right? The 2 with melters are in 2 immolators that also have melters. There's another immolator with a Celestian squad and a Canoness who is armed with the Mortal Wound Bomb. That'll be very unpleasant if it gets into combat. 2 exorcists hiding back there. Hospitaller who's over there. There's a Palatine somewhere. Is she in a transport? Or is she actually on the... She's next to her on there. Obviously a Retributor squad with multi-melters. And 2 Armorium Cherubs. I think that's it. Yep, I think that rounds that out. So we've deployed here. Obviously we haven't yet rolled to see who goes first. So we will be back at the end of the movement phase for whoever ends up getting that first turn. So, Death Guard got the first turn. I did not want to get the first turn. So what I've done in the command phase, so I started on 7 CP, I got a CP back for 8. My Tallyman then tallied me another CP, so I was on 9. So with the Lord of Virulence, I can't help myself. This is the first time I've actually taken a Lord of Virulence, so I couldn't resist, and I've used Blight Bombardment. I have placed Blight Bombardment on that objective number 3 over there. So at the beginning of my next command phase, anything within 6 inches of it has a very good chance to be taking mortal wounds. Tallyman gave this unit of Blightlord Terminators +1 to hit. Because I was such a coward and deployed all the way back, I've moved. Yes, I know. I've moved them forward, but they still wouldn't be able to shoot normally at those sisters. But I have, so I'm going to have to spend 2 CP really to be able to do that. Other things I've done, I've moved that Plague Burst Crawler out so that because it's got a bead then on that immolator there with the melters over there. This one I haven't moved because it wouldn't be able to see anything, so it may as well just stay hidden. You can still fire its mortar. Those Poxwalkers, by the way, will do Spread the Sickness. The Poxwalkers through the building, sort of there, but they only ran 1, so they're not getting anywhere near that objective. I mean, they're not near that objective, so I haven't really got any objectives. Oh, I suppose that guy's within 3. Then I brought in my Dreadclaw drop pod. Obviously there was no way of me dropping behind here, and there's no real... I probably wouldn't be able to do it in the next turn either. Those exorcists aren't going anywhere. So I just brought them in now, taken out the Death Shroud Terminators and the Foul Blightspawn. Might try a pot shot at those rhinos, or that rhino. So that's it for movement. Now in the psychic phase, I've got 2 beneficial psychic powers. I cast them both on the Blight Lords. So unfortunately I was a little bit out of range. Again, if I'd have deployed a bit more aggressively, but then I would have feared what would happen. I probably would have been okay, but I didn't fancy the chances. So I wasn't able to cast anything on the those Death Shroud Terminators. So on these Blight Lord Terminators, the bottom line is that they have got +1 strength and toughness, as well as being -1 to be hit. The Tallyman gave them the +1 to be hit in the command phase. I may have forgotten to mention that as well. So that's us all caught up there. We'll be going into shooting and other shenanigans, and we'll see if anything of note happens. Otherwise, we'll be here at the end of the turn. Right, so at the end of the turn, so the shooting phase, mixed bag. The Plague Burst gauntlets fired into the Battle Sisters, didn't get anything there, didn't really expect to. Might be nice to blink off a wound. But the Foul Blight Spawn destroyed the Rhino on his own with his supercharged thingy. Then the 2 Plague Burst Crawlers between them, unfortunately only managed to get that Immolator down to 2 wounds left. That was unfortunate. I'd hoped to have at least killed that. But it is now crippled, although, and that is a multi-melter one, so, you know, that's not too bad. In terms of, I used the stratagem on one of the mortars that also does splash damage around it. The result of that was 1 Retributor die, so they removed the Sergeant there because she doesn't have a multi-melter, so it hasn't actually reduced their multi-melter capabilities. Even though I moved these and I was planning on spending 2 CP to make their bolt guns plague weapons and then give them an extra 6 inches range to try and have a go at those Battle Sisters, in the end I could only get 2 in range, and that doesn't even include the Blight Launcher, so I'm not spending 2 CP for 8 bolter shots at something with a 3 up save normally and then 2 up because in light cover. So I've left that one as it is. So that, and obviously with the Rhino being destroyed, the Flagellants, none of them died actually when they piled out. They all piled out in an orderly fashion, very unlike them. But they're now well out of charge range, so I can't even pretend to have a charge against that. So that's the end of the turn there. So I get 3 points for Spread the Sickness. 1 Poxwalker did die as a result of spreading the sickness, which isn't bad. I get 1 for Bring It Down because of 1 victory point for the Rhino. Unfortunately, didn't get anything for the Immolator. So we'll be going into Adepta Sororitas turn 1 next. Right, so Adepta Sororitas turn 1, a lot of movement, but first of all, command phase. So what went on there? The injured Immolator was put back to full profile for shooting purposes. After movement, so basically a lot of things moved. They've moved. It moves quite very quickly, Adepta Sororitas. So everything's piled out and moved up. I think, well, not necessarily everything's piled out, but a lot of things are piled out. So there's Melt to Death out everywhere now. Those Battle Sisters, I think, are doing Raise the Banners, you said, didn't you?
No, those ones on the building.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Those ones over there are doing Raise the Banners, and those ones have hopped out to do Raise the Banners there. So that will be... Do you get that in your next command phase?
Yes.
Yeah. And everything just moved, really. I don't think there was... Who's still in a transport then? Did you get your Warlord out in the end? When is
yes, everyone except the Flagellants in this one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Everyone's out.
They're still not quite in range of anything to clobber it. So yeah, everything's jumped out. So the Warlord will be... is she the one with the Condemned Bolt Gun?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we've got the Canoness, the Palatine, and the Hospitaller there. That's all the characters. And we will be going into the shooting phase next. We will come back after the shooting phase because there will also be a charge phase. And I think there's going to be a lot of problems with the shooting phase. I really wish I could have given them the +1 toughness, but there you go. But we'll be back after that. Right, so after the shooting phase, quite successful. The Plague Burst Crawler that was over there was blown away, unfortunately. I tell you where I made a little mistake as well. He was slightly overlapping the dents there, and I didn't need to be in range of what I was shooting on the turn before. I should have made sure he was entirely in the dents, and then some of the shots that went into him would have actually failed. Never mind. In terms of other shooting, a lot of shots over here. The Dreadclaw drop pod was killed. It doesn't get any, you know, it's Death Guard, but it doesn't get any of the Death Guard abilities like Disgustingly Resilient or anything. So it died. My Foul Blight Spawn died as well. He only just died. My Foul Blight Spawn only just died, but he did die. One of the Blight Lord Terminators is also dead as well. Unfortunately, he suffered the ignominious fate of suffering a wound from a bolter, but that didn't matter in the end. The melter would have got him either way. Anything else? I think that was it for shooting. So we're going to have a charge phase next. Obviously those Flagellants are gearing up here. And then we'll be back at the end of the turn, because there's not going to be a lot of fighting. There'll just be one round of fighting there. So at the end of Adepta Sororitas turn 1, so the charge was successful. I did overwatch and killed one. Statistically that was about right, but it still limited the damage. In the end, it was worth it, because I've got my champion left on 1 wound. He killed a load, I suppose. And then, because the stratagem was employed by the Archoflagellants to do crazy damage, several of them dropped dead of exhaustion. The end result is that after morale as well, I used a CP to make them -4 leadership, so only on a 1 could they pass morale. They failed, and then a couple more ran away. So only the endurance is left, but that's still not a bad outcome for Adepta Sororitas there, because it prevents that Terminator from charging into a vehicle over there, which is what I would have liked to have done. Unless, of course, I can arrange for his death before the charge phase. I'm not entirely sure how, unless my Malignant Plaguecaster can come into it. So at the end of that, so Death Guard are on 4 points. So Adepta Sororitas got 3 points for Assassination, killing the Foul Blightspawn, 3 points for Stranglehold. Even though I took Stranglehold and then completely forgotten which secondary it was, I was meaning a different one, so I made a mess there, but never mind. And so it's 6 points to 4, but obviously in the next turn the Raise the Banners points will come in for Adepta Sororitas as well. So we'll be back after my movement phase 2. So after Death Guard turn 2, so 10 points for the primary. Command phase, got a command point. Tallyman did tally again, good old Tallyman. So I was up to 3. I have spent 1. I've forgotten what I spent it on.
The Malignant Plaguecaster will blow
Oh
his
yes,
head
that's
off.
right. Yes, thank you. We'll come to that. So in terms of movement, we've moved over here. I might as well have actually advanced. Actually, no. I have moved with those, so I have the option of shooting. I'll have to consider that. I ran those Poxwalkers in. So they can't do the Spread the Sickness there. Those Blight Lord Terminators have come in. I am potentially thinking of foregoing Spread the Sickness this turn in order to do some shooting and then maybe do it next turn. I've moved those Fetid Blight Drones up there. The Plague Burst Crawlers moved there. The plan here was that Endurant is a pain in the ass, and my Death Shroud is only on 1 wound left. The plan was to smite it to death. It didn't work. It was an outside chance anyway. It's got 1 wound left. Now, arguably, you could have said that maybe I'd have been better falling my Death Guard back so we could at least be shot. Because he is going to go before my Death Guard. And at the moment, I have no real way. So he's very likely to kill that Terminator there. Not absolutely certain. I am risking a bit here. And obviously what I wanted for the Terminator, not only to be not dead, but to be able to charge into something like, say, that Immolator. So this is going quite badly, so I'll have to think about what's the best thing to do. I may even be forced to charge him with a Bloat Drone against it, just for the hell of it.
Do it!
I know, it's absolute madness, this. So yeah, coming to the Psychic phase. The Malignant Plaguecaster, so he casted Smite in there, miscast, double 1. So I had to re-roll that, so yes, that's where the command point went. Cast it, but only got 1. No, I actually got 2, didn't I?
No,
I got 2.
got 1.
I got 1 mortal. Okay, and it failed. Either way, it did 1 mortal wound to him, but it's got 2 wounds. I then attempted to cast, trying to keep that Death Shroud Terminator alive, so it'd be -1 to be hit. Got it on a 10, but that's meaningless to Adepta Sororitas, of course. They have their deny on whatever it is. It's on a 6, and they did deny it on a 6.
For a 5 on mine.
It's a 5 in your case, is it?
Yep.
Is it?
Sacred Right. Remember, I rolled a 5 and a 3.
No, you got a combat bonus one.
Yeah, and the deny
Was it the deny one? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
5 up. Aegis
Fair
of the
enough.
Emperor.
All right, I didn't think it was. Oh, I thought it was the +1 on your Shield of Faith. Sorry. Okay. So either way, it was scored on a 6, regardless. So that's where we are. So it'll be my shooting phase next. These guys are +1 to hit, so I may have to take advantage of that. Plague Burst Crawler's going to have to do some good. I couldn't unfortunately get into a position where I could reliably shoot at that Rhino, which is a problem. But we will see what happens at the end of the shooting phase, I think. So, the end of the shooting phase, because a few things did die. So the Plague Burst crawler fired the mortar into the Rhino and then everything else into the Immolator that was wounded here. The Immolator died from the entropy cannon shot, so that was fine. It did explode. I think it... No, you actually... you saved it. Yeah, it did plink a mortal wound off those, but it was saved. The Rhino only took 2 wounds from the mortar. Okay. Then I fired the Blight Lord Terminators over there into the Retributors. I was hoping for rather better. 2 of them died. Never mind. Then I fired these Blight Lord Terminators into the Battle Sisters here because they're claiming the raise the banners. So I want to try and kill them if I can. So that was... I killed 2 of them.
Claiming raise the banners. The banner is already in place. It happens at the end of my movement phase.
But doesn't it still have to be alive?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, well, I may have to contemplate something before my charge phase then. I thought it still had to be alive.
No.
But anyway, I think that was it for shooting because, you know, I could have spent my last CP for my Warlord to fire his spew into that Immolator. Yeah, it wouldn't do very much. I might get 1 or 2 wounds on average. Not worth it for the last CP. So, out of battery there. So that's it for the shooting phase. We'll be back after the... We'll be back at the end of the turn. I've got to contemplate my charges now. So, at the end of that turn, in terms of charges, those guys got the charge in. That was impressive. Unfortunately, they haven't killed the Rhino. I say unfortunately, that may not have been a bad outcome, really. How many wounds has it got left? It's got a few left. It's got 3 left. Okay. Then we got the charge in, obviously. I tried this. In theory, these guys could have got a 12-inch charge on the Endurance. I did try that. Didn't work. Wasn't going to re-roll that. I am now out of command points anyway. The Fetid Blight Drones, rather, with their flesh mowers charged into the Immolator, so they've killed that. I was actually just as well I killed it, because I did actually remember afterwards I was forgetting to apply the -1 toughness to it because of the aura. It didn't matter because it died. Didn't explode though. So we've basically this turn got 2 Immolators dead, so 4 for bring it down. I didn't do spread the sickness, so that's pretty much it. I've consolidated into them, of course. It took no wounds in reply. The Endurance didn't kill my Death Shroud Terminator, thankfully. Well, from my point of view anyway. So he killed him and then consolidated a bit further forward there. So that's the sort of position we're in at the moment. Going into Adepta Sororitas turn 2. I'm out of range of that, so that's unfortunate. So you'll get 15 points in the primary, I would think, there. We can measure it, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But we're back at the end of the movement phase for Adepta Sororitas turn 2 anyway. So at the end of the movement phase there, as well as command phase, nothing really happened other than getting a command point, which was immediately spent in the movement phase. So the Retributors have all been brought back. I say, well, the ones with the multi-melters anyway.
The important ones.
The important ones. So both of them were brought back, so it's pointless me... Did I actually spend... I didn't spend CP in shooting them. I did spend CP in shooting them. Utter waste. Utter waste. I mean, they should have actually died, but never mind. Other things have just moved around here. They've fallen back. The Arco-Flagellants have piled out with the intention of murdering my Poxwalkers. Fine, whatever. I say that. I don't really want them murdered. They might get a poor charge roll. You've got no more CP left now, so it's all on that anyway.
Well, they have miracle dice, and one of them is a 6. So.
Oh yeah, yes. I suppose it's true. Yeah, okay. Never mind. I haven't got anything to heroically intervene with them. I ain't got any CP left either. That's unfortunate. But there we are. So it'll be shooting phase next. We will come back after the shooting phase because I suspect there's going to be a lot happens there, and then we'll see what we're left with. So the end of the shooting phase there. So the Death Shroud Terminator sadly has now deceased, as has one of the Fetid Blight Drones. That one's not going to last much longer. General other shooting. So the Plague Burst Crawler has now been taken down to just 2 wounds left, so he's basically useless. Couple of Poxwalkers killed. Other than that, that was it. I mean, the main things here were the Fetid Blight Drone and the Death Shroud Terminators, or the remaining Death Shroud Terminator, and that Plague Burst Crawler being crippled there. So we're going to go into a charge phase now. So the Flagellants are going to attempt to charge into there. It turns out that that 6 wasn't a 6, it was a 1, so we checked that. But nonetheless, there are still miracle die of 5. It'd really be unlucky not to get... I don't know what the charge is exactly. You've measured it. What is it?
The 6, I think.
Oh, if it's a 6, then you can't fail it still with a 5, can you? So,
no, 7.
7, okay. So you'd have to roll a 1 to fail it, so that's unlikely. The Warlord there could fail, I suppose. It's that Fate Bloat Drone, but she's the Mortal Wound Bomb. She will just murder it. I haven't got CP to do anything introductory-wise or anything like that anywhere, even if I could. So we're both on 0 CP, so it's just down to the charges. It would be spectacularly unlikely to fail either of them. Well, actually, maybe not that one, unless you use Miracle Dice on that as well. But we'll be back at the end of the turn anyway and see what happens. Yeah. Right, so at the end of that turn, unfortunate, really. The Canoness elected to just roll her charge and rolled a double 1, so failed it into the Blight Drone. That was not actually as much of a disaster as Sty's worried about, because the important one was over there. A 5 was used, rolled a 2, so it only just got the charge in. There were no remember command points to re-roll, so even that nearly went wrong, but didn't. I mean, had he only had a 4 of it as a miracle die and used that, he'd have been really aggrieved, because both of them would have failed then. But nonetheless, it didn't. The Poxwalkers are murdered. That objective is now there. I can't even murder them next turn because that Rhino is still there. This is now a problem. I thought I would be more inconvenient than I had been, so getting that charge off last turn hasn't helped me in the slightest. Just trying to think what else. I think that was it. So that was the only charge there. So at the moment the scores are 27 to Adepta Sororitas, 18 to Death Guard. I still only have 2 objectives, so I'm not going to be clawing this one back really. So we'll see what I can do in my turn 3. So after, you know, command phase movement and so on, got a command point back. Tallyman again gave me a point, tallied me a banana there. I gave the Blight Lord Terminators +1 to hit. That was it for the command phase. Then in the movement phase, so I've moved forward everything here, moved away with the Bloat Drone there to get a charge in. That was basically it for movement. I didn't move anything over there. The psychic phase was successful this time, although I still managed to do a perils, but it was a perils on a double 6. The upshot of it is that the Immolator has taken 2 mortal wounds. I perils myself, caused myself a mortal wound, but I've healed it back with my Periapt on the second cast. I've put everything into the Terminators. They are now +1 strength, +1 toughness, and -1 to be hit. So I've buffed and debuffed them. So we're going to go into the shooting phase then. We'll see if anything interesting happens in the shooting phase. Then we'll be back at the end of that. Otherwise, it'll be back at the end of the turn, because then there's going to be charges and stuff. So at the end of that turn, well, the shooting phase was okay, but nothing died, so we just moved on. The Immolator was taken down to like 3 wounds. Then charged in with the Terminators. They finished it off, although only just. The Fetid Blight Drone, because I was able to whistle the Immolator down the shooting phase, chose to charge into both the Battle Sisters and the Celestian Squad. Unfortunately, it could not hit for Toffee. So the end result is only 1 Celestian died and 3 Battle Sisters. A Miracle Die was used on the morale for the Battle Sisters there. Anything else? Yeah, the Rhino over there had exploded and killed a Terminator. A whole Terminator. So that was like the 2 wounds that one had left, +1 going on to another one. That was unfortunate. This Immolator did not explode. Apparently it only explodes when I'm next to it. But there we are at the end of that one. So all I get is 3 points for Bring It Down, 1 Immolator, 1 Rhino. I was just saying that's the only secondary I've actually chosen that's doing anything here at the moment. You know, so we'll be going into Adepta Sororitas turn 2. They will get, I'll just proceed that now, obviously 3 objectives. So the primary will be held again. So this is getting away from me this game, but you know, we'll keep playing while there's life, there's hope, and we'll see what happens at the end of this turn. So in the command phase, command point back, that was all there was to it there. Then in the movement phase, the Retributors were brought back again. They won't die. They'll never die. At least I'm wasting his command points. In terms of other movement, things fell back. The Battle Sisters and the Celestian Squad fell back. Oh, actually, the Celestian were out of combat anyway. No,
No,
the Battle Sisters.
were out.
That's right, you remove casualties so that they were out, so they can shoot. The Celestians have moved over there, they can't shoot, never mind. The Canoness has moved there to clump the Terminators. She's going to do a load of mortal wounds, that'll be interesting to see. Other things have just moved there to fire melt. So basically what's going to happen is that Fetid Blight Drone is dead. The Blight Lord Terminators are going to get some shots in the face, so they're probably dead as well. The Arco-Flagellants moved there to try and get a charge in there, but remaining within 3 inches of that in case the charge fails, because there's been a bit of a habit on those. Yeah. And the best miracle die you've got at the moment is a 3. Although you will get another one after the shooting phase, I suspect.
Probably.
I think so. But there it is. So we'll be back. We'll be back after the shooting phase, actually, because I expect something significant to happen here. Yes. Right, okay. So the end of that shooting phase. So things have died. The Fetid Bloat Drone died immediately. We've also got 2 Terminators dead and 1 on 1 wound over there. Nothing happened at all over there, significant or otherwise.
Just a Plague Burst Crawler?
Yeah, the Plague Burst Crawler's gone as well. So where we're shaping ourselves up for as a charge, that charge will happen. They will now die because they've only got 6 wounds in there. She's definitely going to do 6 mortal wounds. They will make that charge as well. They can't fail that. So they're going to get clumped there. It's only really a question of how many can get in combat if it's a really low charge roll. But we'll be back at the end of the turn and then see what we've got. Right, so at the end of that, what happened with the fight phase? Obviously, the Poxwalkers are still there, but they're not. They're just corpses. So the Arco-Flagellants killed them. The Canoness didn't actually kill all of the Black Lord Terminators. Unfortunately, it grieved me to do this. In order to stay in combat with her, I had to take out the flail guy and leave in the champion, because otherwise I'd have been out of combat. I didn't take a single wound off her. I wasn't likely to kill her. I wasn't likely to do 3 wounds to her, but yeah, you know, the flail would have been a different matter. But unfortunately, that was not an option because it was in the rank behind. So unfortunately, I'm going to concede here. Reason being, at the moment, the scores are 48 to the Adepta Sororitas, 31 to me. I don't have enough on the board. You know, I'd get 10 points in the primary again. I have no way of dealing with those flagellants unless I shot round there with the characters and tried to do something heroic. But it's be very unlikely. It won't be impossible. It won't be very unlikely. But then what does that get me? You know, I'd at best case scenario, I kill the flagellants, the Arco-Flagellants. That would mean ignoring the Warlord. Really what I should do is make sure of killing the Warlord, moving that Blight Lord Terminator back, shooting her with things. Should be able to kill her. And what does that get me? That gets me nothing as well, because it doesn't get me any secondary points and it's not helping me get any primary points. So at this point, tactically, the best I could hope for, as I say, is to go round there, mug those, spread the sickness here, but that means leaving the Canoness to murder. I mean, I would fall back anyway, just to force it to take another turn. But yeah, there's no way of catching up, much less overtaking at this point. So victory for the Adepta Sororitas there. Next week we've got Age of Sigmar again, which is you're taking Daughters of Cain, I'm taking Flesh Eater Courts. And then we're back then. So hope you found it interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And until next time, we'll see you later.